Miyagi's were very close friends, and so, as Mr. Gucci would say, there was numerous of evenings he would actually have to take Miyagi home because his father would sit and drink, and then, of course, I just heard recently that Miyagi didn't drink. Well, I don't know, according to Mr. Gucci that he did, but that's neither here nor there. And so, but he said he would sit and listen, and as Mr. Gucci would say, that there was a lot of things that Miyagi teacher wanted to do, and he fell short of the things he wanted to do, and so he said he felt the responsibility to take upon himself, somewhat change the curriculum, and so that also included, and I can remember when I first started training, the first kata that was taught was Giksai, but then my next tour over there, then he had introduced Hokyu 1 and 2 katas, and some of the other forms, as a lot of the Goju-ryu systems do not use. But I'm finding out now that a lot of the systems around the world, around the country, is really interested actually in some of those forms that Mr. Gucci created.
How does the experience from learning from Mr. Taguchi carry over to how you teach today? What are a couple of the touchstones that you carry with you?
Mr. Gucci was he was a hard-nosed teacher. He would push your button, And even as I speak, I tell my students about tradition. You have to expand on tradition, but that doesn't mean change it. In other words, that doesn't mean take the katas and change the katas around and change the curriculum around and stuff like that. And that is something that I have never done. I have always kept with Mr. Taguchi's curriculum. I have created a form or two. Well, actually one form, and then called Gakusen no Kata, kind of a student kata, and so I would often hear Mr. Gucci that a teacher has to leave something to his students, so that's kind of my gift to the students, And then I was fortunate enough to work in Kaohsiung, China with a group of Chinese students, and I picked up a couple of white crane forms, which I call golden crane and white crane, that I teach after softness, actually, And in my travel, I kind of changed the name of Goju-ryu as I was seeing. I called it Go-Go-ryu, which means hard ryu, and you don't really see a lot of softness actually in the Goju anymore. But that's I often tell students when I go out and do a fellowship or do a workshop or something like that is you must do what you've been taught, even though my approach may be a little bit different.
Today, many practitioners of karate feel the need to go to Okinawa to learn karate, I guess make a trip to Mecca in some respects. How has Okinawa changed since you were there, and what does it look like today? Has karate changed?
Well, it has. Yeah. It has changed. I was over there not too long ago, and it was just it just saddened my heart, to be frankly, to see what is happening. Like, for example, my old dojo now is a parking lot, for an example. And a lot of the dojos, I took some students over, and we just kind of hit quite a few dojos, and there was a very, very few, seriously, that would actually, was a formal dojo. In most cases, you go in, people go in, they change, to go out on the floor and that work basic, something like that. If there's a beginning student, there may be a black belt come down, spend a few minutes with him, then he's back down in his own corner. So it was just kind of sad to see that. And these are some known Goju-ryu dojos, even though we visited some Isshin-ryu dojos, Uechi-ryu dojos, Shorin-ryu dojos, but it's just sad to see what is happening. And I think, as I was talking to students on the way back, that a lot of that is, because golf is now popular, soccer, and a different sport. So you're really not getting a lot of people actually involved in the arts because there's so many other activities going on, And so that could be maybe for the part of the downhill trend is happening. I don't know, but it was just sad to see a lot of stuff.
When you would go out on the judo mat, what was your bread and butter technique? When it was time to really go to it, what technique served you the best?
Well, I had two. One of them is kind of a combination of Seoi-nage and Taiotoshi, and I primarily use that throw because of my weight division I was fighting. I was fighting heavier guys. Some of these guys are 200, well, not 200, but 250, 300 pounds. So I could get up under those guys with Seoi-toshi. And then somebody pretty close to my body structure, then I used to do a left side Uchimata,
And what's your now to reveal the secret? What's your go-to karate technique?
All of them.
Yeah.
All of it. Anything that works. And I make a joke out of it sometimes. Where we building our sign in front of our dojo, so I put a little tree up there, and that little tree, as students would ask, that. What is that tree for? I said, well...
Now, you painted a little tree on the sign?
Yeah, there's a little tree painted on the sign. I actually cut out the wood and nailed on there.
Okay.
And I says, well, like your martial art, it's just like a great big trunk. And the trunk of that tree there, and then got the different branches going off. And so I said, those are the different disciplines, your judo, your karate, your tai chi, whatever the case might be. But then on the base of that tree, I have a little red square. This is kind of a joke thing, but... I can recall when I was back on the street, if you can figure taking a Christmas present in June, wrapping it up in Christmas paper, which was a big brick, and so I kind of had that little square up there, and it says, well, if all else fails, grab a brick. So it's kind of a joke thing,
Sure. You've got students that have been with you for, in some cases, the majority of their lives. What kind of changes happen to these people from training in the martial arts?
Well, it's really been good to see people like that. And I was just talking not too long ago. One of my senior judo students, for an example, been with me almost 31 years. And some of the judo karate people have been with me in excess of 30, 32, 35 years, stuff like that. And, you do see the changes, and it's for the better, I think, because a lot of people come into this thing not knowing what it's all about, but they hit that fad thing, and then they find out that it's really not a fad, that it's a lot of work. So you see a lot of those students, they just hang right in there. And now what the fun part about it is to see these students teaching other students, So there's numerous of times when I go visit, some of the dojos in the organization, I just sit back and just laugh and then answer some questions, and so some of the same questions I would probably answer myself when I first started out teaching, because I had nobody to go to actually in this country, And so it's just great to see that, and just the changes that some of these students that have made in teaching. So it's just good.
You alluded to it earlier. You were talking about how you changed from just a roustabout into a martial artist. When did you realize that had happened? Is there a moment, or was it a gradual change?
Well,
or did somebody look at you and say, you've changed?
Well, yeah. That was a situation actually very early in my career in Action Okinawa. I was over there, and they had these boxing smokers, and I almost killed a kid. And I was trying to hurt him really bad, because a lot of times they had the inner service boxing smokers,
Mm-hmm.
And so everything you hear, well, yeah, I'm going to knock this guy out, I'm going to knock Roseberry out, and all this other stuff, So you just learn to hate, And so I can recall fighting this kid, and I knocked him out, but I was trying to hold him up, so I was still beating on him, and finally they did stop it. But, after I thought about that, I never shared this with people, I thought about that, man, that's just, that's not you. And so from that point, that's the last time I put on a set of gloves, other than I used to have a boxing club actually up to my original dojo upstairs there, that I had some fighters, and we used to go fight the Golden Gloves and things like that, but I was coaching those guys. But as far as a competition, that was the last time I put on gloves. I hung the gloves up and just focused on the martial arts,
You said today, and again, you touched on it earlier, that karate is too hard. What do you mean by that? Saying that?
Well, what I'm seeing is, students, when they're making a transition, for an example, okay, you're seeing a lot of people actually key eye on blocks, and of course I'm not knocking it, that's their business, But where you key eye on a lot of your softer movements to set up your hard movements, for an example. So I'm seeing that a lot of people really don't know how to set up their power. So they're so hard, so they're constantly exaggerating their energies right away, think they're going to hit harder, and basically they're hitting weaker,